What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be doing something pretty interesting. I'm going to be predicting what I think the next coaster to be removed at Hersheypark is going to be. This video is a lot similar to a video Hersheypark enthusiast did. So huge shout out to him for coming up with this idea. So how it's going to work is I'm going to be talking about every coaster at Hersheypark, and then there'll be 3 different tiers that I'm going to put them into. There's going to be green, which means this is good for years and years in the future. This is not going to be removed anytime soon. There's going to be yellow. I think it's safe. It's not going to be the next coaster to be removed, but it's going to be removed fairly soon. Like, it might be removed in the next, 30 or 40 years. And then red is, it could be removed. I think this will be one of the next coasters to be removed. So, let's get right into it. Okay, the first coaster I want to talk about is Candemonium. When this opened, this was the biggest addition Hersheypark ever added. This and Chocolate Town combined cost over $120 million. So, that's a factor that I'm definitely going to be giving Candemonium a green because, this is also a very popular ride. This is one of the most popular rides in the park, if not the most popular ride in the park. Everybody loves this. It's a ride I honestly think the height requirement should be under what it is now. I'm not sure what it is, but it's I don't know Hersheypark's height requirements in inches, but it's a Twizzler. I think it could be, people shorter than Twizzlers could ride this just because it may look and, the marketing might sound like, oh, it's so intimidating because, it's the tallest coaster in the park. But really, other than that, in my opinion, it's not that, intense or anything. So, the whole family can enjoy this ride. And, it's one of the most popular rides in the park. So, in my opinion, I think this might be, with the coasters Hersheypark has right now, the last coaster to be removed at Hersheypark. This is not going anywhere anytime soon. So, I'm giving this the brightest green you can give. Okay, the next coaster I want to talk about is Coco Cruiser. This is the park's only actual kiddie coaster. So in my opinion, I would give this a green. But definitely I think this eventually will be removed. It's definitely popular, but I'd say eventually this is going to be removed, but I'll still give it a green because I don't think it's going to be removed. I think eventually, in the next 30 years, it might be removed, but I don't think it's going to be removed anytime soon, just because it's the only park's kiddie coaster. Now, if they wanted to add, a better kiddie coaster or something that's not, cloned or something, I think they might remove this. But, the near future, I don't think this is going to be removed, so I'm giving this a green. Okay, the next coaster I want to talk about is Trailblazer. This is an Aero Mine Train. I'm going to give this a yellow because it has had it's been closed for the past few weeks now. I definitely think it's going to be at the park for a while, but I think in the next 30 years, maybe even 20 years, they're going to remove this because this is getting old. I think this is either the second oldest coaster in the park. I think this is the second oldest coaster in the park. So it's definitely getting old and, it's showing its age. It is, it doesn't tend to have a really long line most of the time. Sometimes it does, but most of the time it doesn't have a long line. So I'm definitely giving this a yellow. I think it's going to be removed in the next 20 or 30 years. So moving on to the next one. Okay, the next coaster I want to talk about is Wildcats Revenge. I don't think this is going anywhere anytime soon. This is their newest coaster, so I'll give this a green. RMC is, obviously RMC is a new company. Their first coaster is only 12 years old, so I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. But RMC, we don't know how long their coasters last because none have been removed at all or anything. So I'll give this green, but so I'll give this a green. There's not much to say about it because this is their newest coaster. So I guess just moving on to the next one. Okay, the next coaster is Laugh Track or Lame Track, whatever you want to call this. It's an indoor spinning wild mouse. I'll give this a green, but I will hesitate. This is a fairly new coaster. It opened in 2015, so it's the third newest coaster in the park. The only trouble Hersheypark really has had with it is the capacity. So I'll give this a green anyways, but eventually I'm not sure, when they're going to remove this, but It's not going to be the next one to be removed, but I would hesitate, when this is going to be removed. But yeah, I'll give this a green. There's not much to say about this. A lot of families and stuff love this coaster. In my opinion, I don't think it spins enough. Like it does really nothing for me. I honestly prefer Wild Mouse. But yeah, no, that's all I have to say about Lame Track. Moving on to the next one. Okay, the next one I want to talk about is Lightning Racer. This is Hersheypark's only remaining wooden coaster other than Comet, since they removed Wildcat and, redid it as an RMC into Wildcat's Revenge. So I'm going to give this a yellow for one reason. Yes, I would hate to see it be removed, and it would, there'd be a huge gap in Hersheypark's lineup. But it's getting old, and wooden coasters, especially modern wooden coasters, don't last longer than 40 years. So in my opinion, I think it's going to be removed in the next 20 or 30 years. So it has some time. I don't think it'll be the next coaster to be removed, but I'll definitely give this a yellow. And I think it's going to be removed in the next 20 or 30 years. So yeah, that's all I had to talk about Lightning Racer. I'm giving this a yellow, so moving on to the next one. Okay, the next coaster I want to talk about is Fahrenheit. I'm going to give this a yellow. It's right in there, I'd say, with Lightning Racer, because this is an Intamin. Intamins are very unreliable. Hersheypark has had a few problems with this. Not as many problems as Skyrush, but recently the drive tires exploded in the past few years. So I'd say this probably has 20 more years. Just because, it's an Intamin, it does have a little bit of a rattle, so, but it has long lines a lot of times. I think that's partly because, it doesn't have good capacity, but also a lot of people like this. It's definitely it has one of the longest lines at Hersheypark all the time. That is because of capacity, but a lot of people do like this, so I'll give this a yellow right in there with Lightning Racer. Okay, the next coaster is Wild Mouse. Right away, I'm just going to say I'm giving this a red, the darkest red you can give. This is going to be the first, the next coaster to be removed at Hersheypark. It was rumored for a while there that it was on the market. I don't know if that was true or not, but I definitely think Hersheypark wants to get rid of this for multiple different reasons. It's a coaster that's at a lot of different parks, so they want something more unique, and it's probably, other reasons that we don't know about quite yet. So I definitely think this will be the next coaster to be removed at Hersheypark because, it isn't the most popular ride at the park. It's not just because of, how long the lines are or not. It's, a clone coaster, so it's not at a lot of It is at a lot of parks, so they definitely want to get rid of this, and I definitely think this is going to be the next coaster to be removed at Hersheypark. Okay, now moving on to the next coaster. This is Comet. Going from the reddest coaster to now the greenest coaster, Comet. The reason why I think this is the greenest coaster in the park, the coaster that I think is least likely to be removed, is because this is the oldest operating coaster in the park. Hersheypark is going to do as much as they possibly can do to restore this ride and, keep it operating as long as possible. Also it's, a family ride, so the whole family enjoys this, your grandparents, your parents, they've ridden this probably, if they've been to Hersheypark. So, the whole family's like, oh, we don't know. Some people don't like real thrilling rides. Some people, are too old to go on it, whatever. More thrilling rides. So everybody, in the family can enjoy this ride. And it's, every time I've been there this year, I've only gone on it once. And the shortest I've seen the line, even on weekdays and times of the park where Comet has short lines normally, it's had 45-minute wait minimum. So everybody enjoys this ride. So that's why I'm going to be giving this green. This will not be removed for a long time. This is the least likely coaster to be removed at Hersheypark. So now moving on to the next one. Okay, the next one is Skyrush. Right away, I'm just going to say again, I'm giving this a red. And for one reason only, it, has had a lot of problems, throughout its life. It's only 10 or 11 years old, and in that time, it's broke down for a long time. Almost every year since then. And thankfully for Hersheypark this year, it has had longer than usual lines. Normally I wouldn't ride it if, it's in the switchbacks. And lately it's been in the switchbacks, almost every time I went to the park. So it has had longer than usual lines. But still, I'm just going to say this is going to be in red just because it's had a lot of problems throughout its life. There's not a lot to say about that other than, it's had a lot of problems, and I'll put this in red. Okay, the next one is Super Duper Looper. I'm going to give this a green just because this is the oldest operating looping coaster on the East Coast. So, if Hersheypark would remove this, it would upset a lot of people because it's very important in the history of roller coasters. It's a very pivotal moment, when they built this, the oldest operating looping coaster on the East Coast. So if they would remove it, a lot of people would be upset. And this is another one like Comet where the whole family can enjoy this coaster because it's not that intense, it's not that high. So, everybody enjoys this, This is another one where everybody's been on this. It's a classic ride. So I do not think Hersheypark is going to remove this anytime soon. So I'm going to give this a green. Okay, the next one I want to talk about is Jolly Rancher Remix. This did just reopen in 2022. It used to be Sidewinder. It's a Vekoma Boomerang. They redid it. They repainted it. They added a flavor tunnel, and they added a flat ride called Mixed. But this is a Vekoma Boomerang, so I am going to give this a yellow, just because I don't think it's going to be the next one removed. I definitely think they prolonged the life by, repainting it and adding the tunnel. But I think it'll probably be removed in the next 20 years, so I am going to be putting this in yellow. So there's not much to say about it. It's a Vekoma Boomerang. These are cloned at a lot of parks, so I am putting this in yellow. So moving on to the next one. Okay, the next one I want to talk about is Storm Runner. This is an Intamin hydraulic launch coaster. If they did remove this, this would be a huge gap in their lineup. They are rumored to be getting another launch coaster at Hersheypark, but I'm going to give this a yellow because I don't think it's going to be the next one to be removed, but I think it's going to be removed sometime soon, so I'm going to be giving this a yellow. It's pretty self-explanatory, the fact that it's one of only 3 or 4 operating hydraulic launch coasters in the world, and if they lost this coaster, that would be a huge gap in their lineup. So now moving on to the next one. Okay, the last coaster at Hersheypark that I'm talking about is Great Bear. This is a B&M invert. So the GP love this. It's one of their favorite rides in the park. They always are saying, "Oh, the one where your feet dangle. I love that one." So I'll give this a green because I think it's going to stay for a while. I don't think it's going to stay as long as Candemonium or Super Duper Looper or Comet, but I definitely think it's going to stay longer than the Intamins in the park. So I am going to be giving this coaster put this coaster in the green lineup. There's not much to say about this. I think it's going to be staying for a while. They haven't had much problems with this since this is a B&M invert. I'm not the biggest fan of B&M inverts, but this is a good coaster. I just want to thank you all for watching this video. This is the end of this. Huge shout out to Hersheypark Enthusiast for coming up with this video idea. He did it before me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts of what you think the next coaster to be removed at Hersheypark is going to be. Put that down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe and like, and I'll see you in the next one.